So I think one of the things that we're very interested in the wholesale space, especially, and the DMC space, especially, is I think building a brand is one thing. Then sustaining the brand is another thing. You spoke about how you grew from 2022 to 2026, from 5 folds, etc. In the context of people, and the problem that happens in the B2B space, everyone says people generative. They take the clients and customers with you. They take your business with you, and everyone faces this. Anyone in this room has also faced this. So how do you stop your business, protect your business from walking out the door with an employee or saying, how do you keep a control of it?
See, it's a quite a great question, first of all. Thank you for having us here. I've had these situations over the last 16 years that we've run the company, right? And every time a leader will come up to me and say, hey, so-and-so is going to leave, he has so much of data access, etc., etc. My answer to them has been very simple. If one person can take away your customer, one individual, you should not be in this business. Because if databases and Excel sheets could transfer business, then we are not running it properly. So your customer is engaged with your brand, with a company, and that is what differs from an organization to a single individual owner-driven companies. So when you build a structure, there are multiple engagements with the same customer. So your customer is not only talking to one person, not one salesperson, not one operations, one customer service, etc. They are talking to an organization. So as long as you've kept that aside and you have value that you're delivering to the customer time after time, it is very difficult for anybody to take your customer away. In fact, you should, if you are really scared of losing a customer, you should be scared of losing a customer to a bigger competition than to an employee who's just going out and starting up. So we've had these live situations. People went, they knew our margins, they dropped the margins by half. They gave credit, which we don't give at all. We did have a 20% decline. 3 months back, all those customers came back. Because you can't deliver service consistently if you are not an organized company. Right? So you've got to have people, not just one connect with the customer, you have multiple engagements at multiple levels with multiple sources. So a customer is talking to Travel Bulls, is not talking to KD Singh or XYZ. So that's one way of structuring the company in a way where you protect your customer through the value you deliver to them, not with the pricing or your credit lines or something like that.
So let me ask you a follow-up on this. I know you invested heavily in the last, watching you guys, you invested heavily in the last 4 or 5 years in technology, specifically in your platform.
That's correct.
So are you hoping that this technology and your service that replaces the relationship element, or do you think they're both going to be hand in hand as you go forward, specifically to help grow Travel Bulls to maybe 5x the scale that it is today?
So the role of tech, and we keep talking about AI these days and ML and everything else, is of a facilitator, of something that facilitates a seamless transaction.
Yep.
The relationship cannot be taken over by technology. We still are in people's business, we still are in human-to-human contact. What we need to do is use tech to eradicate anything that comes in between an end consumer and a service provider and make it seamless. So customers are not saying, I need a booking now. They're not expecting only a booking. They want their own. So if I talk to a travel agent or a tour operator, sometimes there are 2 travel agents involved, because we talk to a bigger travel agent in Delhi who's probably selling it to somebody in Kanpur, who's probably selling it to a customer. So there is multiple engagement, and back when you look at a hotel booking, is going back either to a third-party supplier or to a direct. So by the time it's hotel, we have 5 people in the chain, value chain. The booking has to flow seamlessly without any manual interference. That is delivery consistently, day after day, booking after booking. Your customer is not going anywhere. And second thing, there will be times when somebody in this value chain will not fulfill the promise. As a brand, do you stand up and say, yes, we did not deliver your service, this is what we'll do. Not run away that time. Are you approachable? Are you owning up to your challenges that you've created for a customer, and are you ready to take care of the cost? The example we just discussed. So, 15 bookings, we spend $500,000. We have to, because commitment to the customer is once you get a confirmation booked, it's our responsibility from there on.
Manish, let me come to you. I think you've led a lot in the OTA space and you've got some of the biggest OTAs in the country. In today's day, I go to Google, I'm overwhelmed with choices. Honestly, like you look at a hotel, you got 5 different OTA options anywhere in the world. Specifically the OTA where you sometimes can't see them, you can't feel them. It's not a tangible storefront. You can go and talk to someone. How are you helping build trust to your customer? Is it consistency? Is it pricing? Is it transparency? Or are you trying to give them the best experience?
Yeah, good question. In fact, there is no single answer to it, and your question has answer within itself. So all of these things has to be stitched together. Consistency in terms of the product availability, whether online or offline, within store, it has to be maintained across. So your brand website to the app to, let's say, you end up getting a call at your customer services call center, so that consistency has to be maintained. And obviously the brand promise, the reviews behind that, the how do you showcase that, what kind of a consumers are rating your services. So, and if I get your question right, stickiness building to the platform is something where you need to know your consumer well. You have to maybe persuade what exactly the consumer might be wanting from your platform. It is not just that, okay, random exercise. If a consumer in today's era, if a consumer has to use multiple filters, what's the point? How are you going to solve? Personalization is something which everyone is trying to build. Knowing the history of the consumer, where is it he coming from? Is it an evolved consumer, first timer onto the platform? How are you going to solve? What exactly is in mind? So various touch point, I guess, consistency has to be maintained throughout. That's something which is going to play a pivotal role for building that stickiness of consumer.
Let me put your spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Specifically with conflicts and disruption. Whenever the conflict and disruption happens, I think the first line, people didn't call up their travel agent or OTA in their space and said, I want my refund, I want my money back. And sometimes the third party supplier, the end supplier doesn't support you. They said, this is the term, they want to support you. So how do companies and OTAs and what sort of advice you have for other travel companies, how do they take care of their customers and one bad experience means the customer will go forever. How do they protect their customers specifically in a disruption situation or under pressure situation? How do you make sure that you're doing right for the customer and right for the business?
Yeah, again, a very very valid question. Customer is the one has to be customer obsessed in that sense. So you have to keep up to your promise. If your brand promise says, like KD was referring to it, that it is our ownership. If we have given a confirmed voucher, we have to solve for consumer. It may be not directly your problem, but yes, obviously the consumer is yours. He has trusted on your brand. You have to solve, maybe uplift in terms of the product which he or she has opted for. Give him a better service, and that's how the consumer, you will be able to win consumer trust.
Can you build? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. What should customers do, or what should travel agencies do in good times to protect themselves from a disruption? And should you build up a fund, customer care fund? Do you invest in your customer? How can you, because when the times are good in travel, the times are very good. And then downturn happens suddenly, everyone is caught with their pants down sort of situation. So can companies, smaller companies, do something like your previous organizations do that to build up a fund or to invest in customer loyalty type of thing that will help in the worst times?
So I guess all good brands invest quite a lot in knowing their consumer, what are they wanting, and how do they solve for consumer, and what is today's consumer looking for. We see all across that AI playing along. Why is that AI, and that too in vernacular language, multiple languages? It is again solving for consumers. App building in various languages, so that that okay, X consumer will come online if we solve for this. That's the obstacle, So knowing your consumer becomes the first, and obviously then keeping up to your brand promise that okay, whatever happens, we have to solve for you and you are taken care. Whether it is, and fund creation is, obviously when you are doing X amount of business, you know, you have baked into your business cost that God forbid if something happens, we will have to solve for the consumer. X percentage can go wrong, and you know your SOPs. Yeah.
Let me add to that. I think there is a very wonderful product that is now available where you can actually insure every single booking. So against all of this, against travel. So travel insurance covers a whole lot of these unforeseen circumstances because mostly we don't anticipate them. They just happen. We have no control on it. So insurance, and it is not very expensive. It's fairly cheap. I think what we've always seen, and when I'm traveling, for example, or any of our customers are traveling, we encourage every single time you must carry a travel insurance. So that's one way of doing it. Second, of course, like you said, a brand promise is a brand promise, right? So you made money in good times, you may lose a little bit when it is not good. At least you will retain the customer. And in B2B space, that's the only differentiation you create. So you have to be fast, you have to be reliable, you have to be consistent booking after booking. You may do hundreds and thousands of booking, you can't mess up with one.
Ashwin, let me come to you a little bit. And let me change the topic a little bit. Let me talk about talent. And I think there's no industry like hospitality which is aggressive movement of talent, hotel to hotel. I think you had a couple of ex-colleagues here also.
Yeah, we are right.
So, I mean, solution for solving long-term loyalty in talent and your staff and your people is, I think, very, very important. Specifically when there's a downturn, people tend to shift industries as well. So how are you building up an environment that means people stay with you through the bad times as well, and hopefully then grow with you over the years?
So post the COVID, of course we all had a rude shock after when COVID, when the demand started to come back, and how some of the brands kind of took over in terms of cutting down salary, making people leave. I think what everybody's learned post that is that you need to create a culture where the team members find the trust in you. And the first important thing in trust is to be accountable and to be transparent and to acknowledge the gaps. So if there is anything, we must acknowledge it, and most important is air them out. So today the workforce which is coming into it, they look for financial rewards, of course. They also look at what they are able to learn as a continuous learning. And third is a culture where they can thrive upon. And that is something which one has to create and one has to do. So we invest quite a bit in terms of, and in fact I was just telling a few colleagues outside over there that we invest in our team members in ensuring that we benchmark. So like for example in our industry we benchmark for revenue. We got reports like STR. We benchmark for guest experience, but we don't benchmark mostly for the payroll. So we like to benchmark our compensation and benefits for our team members, and what not just the hotels are paying, but what are other industries paying, and make sure that why should hotels always be the lowest payroll or the least paid? And why should we glorify 14 hours of work a day? I don't think it's right. And if the new workforce is saying we don't want to do it, they're right. I don't expect my Gen Z daughter to start working 6 days a week or to not get 8 off or to work 14 hours a day and slog at a low salary. Why should the new workforce accept it? We as a brand need to embrace and change. So for example, having 8 offs, ensuring that they get competitive pay from the market, not just from hotels, but from why should a minimum wage be the benchmark? Pay higher than so we give close to 25% more than the minimum wage, just so that the team members do not look out. If the starting salary has to be a good salary for them to have any bit of loyalty to even start with or even join the industry. So that's something which I feel is, and of course then is the culture. The culture has to be of trust and transparency. Gone are the days when you could be one way to directive telling how things have to happen. Today it's about inclusive work culture. If you do not include them, they will also not be part of the culture. So if it's one way, then I'm sorry, I don't want to be into it. If it's both ways, it's included, you involve them into the business, you involve them into the decision making, then you have their loyalty with them because they want to be heard and they want to feel important. So you cannot just say, I've said so do it. It won't happen anymore. So that change in the working atmosphere of us as hotels is important. That is from the talent part of it. And I'll just add on, which I know you didn't ask, but adding on, even the guest profile is changing as we move forward. because this Gen Z is now moving into the workforce, and that workforce is the one in next 3 or 4 or 5 years will come and start staying into hotels. So, we all have to change quickly to adapt to the changing dynamics of both the workforce and for your guests. So that's I was just telling the hotel over here that this hotel that it's a bit futuristic in from the time, but in times to come, this is what the Gen Z would want. They don't want very formal hotels. They want something which they can blend into as a space, as experiences, and not just go into a hotel which is a traditional conventional hotel.
But do you face challenge when you go to your board or when you go to your owners and say, I want to build a hotel or a lobby and I want to give free mini bar? Do you feel the push from the ownership to say,
Yes and no. It's also about how you present, how you kind of give an idea around it, how you show your data. Data today is the king, and if you can explain the data and how things are working, I don't think any board who's invested millions of dollars into building an asset will not want to embrace change and move forward for the because everybody built hotel for next 5 decades or so. So everybody understands, and a smart investor who's spent so much of money understands what the market is moving towards. So I don't think that's difficult. It's also about how you explain.
thank you. Let me move to Manpreet. He's been very patiently waiting, so sorry about that. So, Manpreet, I always felt that travel is nice as well. It's not about the people, it's all about the experience, right? And we're seeing more and more it's becoming sort of transactional, it's becoming automated, it's becoming sort of very, very price driven. How are you helping build up that sort of emotional connection with your clients that they want to invest with FCM movements and they want to invest with you and you're the right person for these big movements and experiences for them?
So MICE is all about relationship, right? Understanding your customers. So yes, AI is coming in. We are also investing in the AI. But what we're doing is we're keeping humans first, right? At the end, we are in the service industry, so humans are first. But how AI can help our people do a task much more effectively is what our focus is. And in fact, we just launched a AI integrated tool yesterday, and it's called SAM. It's been launched globally. So how it's going to work here? So it's not a chatbot kind of a stuff. It's a full supported and support and working on the AI model, wherein our people can work more effectively, right? And it is only to help our team members to give prompt requirements to the customers. So that's how on the AI. And when we talk about customers and the changing needs, customers are also asking, and their expectation is, because everyone talks about AI as a buzzword, everyone works on different apps, and they want faster rewards, and they want a reward coming in from an experienced event planner who knows the destination, who knows the product in a much more detail now. It's not only about this hotel has 500 rooms or 200 rooms and this is how it's divided. They want more around, okay, I'm going there, I know the hotel, I've been there, I've done that. Tell me what next I can do. That's where, if we are there to give that input and the value to the clients, they are even more happier. And adding on to this is experience that you talk about. This is one part of the experience. Today, what I'm also seeing is we are not only working on the basic MICE formats. They are happening. They are still there. But more and more shift is on the experience side of it, right? When we talk about experience is not only about sightseeing or destination. It's beyond the conference setups. How well and interactive the conference setups are all about, right? What kind of team building exercises, which they must not have done before. So it's all about that. And food, we Indians are very fond of food, right? Wherever we go, we want our own food. How well curated the food is. No matter wherever you are, if the food is not right, the whole thing goes for a toss. That's still the fact. So
I get this question a lot, not from the bigger sort of players, I get them a lot from the tier 2, tier 3, smaller, medium sized sort of MICE agents specifically. They say, Okay, I can't grow more because I'm the person who does the selling, I'm the person who does the delivery, I'm the person who does everything. So I can't, I have reached my scale. So, I mean, what would your advice to the people like that is how do you scale beyond yourself and you are sort of the bottleneck in the chain, value chain? How do you scale beyond yourself?
So it goes back to what you were discussing earlier, trust. We need to trust our people who are working with us, right? And it all comes back to the culture. What culture we are cultivating in our organizations. So if we trust our people, they want to do the stuff. Right? And if we are giving value back to them, they will definitely do all that work that we think that we can only do it. But that's not the truth. There are people who are working with us, they will do better stuff, right? Because they are doing that stuff in and out. And maybe we've been doing those things from last couple of years, but we have our own mindset of doing those things. The younger generation, the people who've been working, who've been on ground day in, day out, they might come up with something new, interesting. We give them, they deliver it. It is not that we need to be there at all the time. If we we need to get away with that mindset,
Yeah.
right?
And do you think, so I mean, out of curiosity, do you think this industry, the mice specific industry, is doing enough to train talent up, smaller talent up, young freshers up? Are they doing enough, or do you think there's a lot more we need to do to get the next generation into this industry?
I'm sure everyone is trying to do that, but I can just talk about more about the organization. FCM, we have a core ethos, and one of the core ethos is brightness of future. Brightness of future for our people. So we actually, I'll say that the company invests a lot on that front. There are career graphs which are being made, and people know that what skill sets I need to go to the next level, right? And everyone don't reach there, but it's something. But the organization has created those pathways, those training modules. In fact, we have also invested. Last year we did that with LinkedIn. There are so many modules that the LinkedIn trainings which are available, which are not very expensive. In fact, I was doing yesterday a prompt training, how to do a prompt to a AI.
Fantastic.
So these are the skill sets, right? And I can talk about that in our organization. There's a huge amount of focus on the brightness of future for our people.
Thank you so much. So, James, thank you very much. We're going to talk a little bit about sort of leadership, specifically during change and how the market is changing, and what are we doing, what are we seeing leaders in the industry do. So let me come to you, sort of, Manish, and looking at it, saying OTAs, have they made this industry a little bit more, market leaders, have they made this more transparent, or have they made it more price-driven?
Okay, interesting question, and I guess this has been going around from a decade or so now. But yes, I guess the journey, obviously, when you get into a space, you are opening up a market for consumer base. You have to open up with some drive, some force. But if you read it, the way industry has come out today, I guess more of education today. Consumer is not just buying a product. It's not just a product driven kind of a relationship. It is experience led relationship. So you end up building experience for the consumer, and consumer is quite evolved, and they are well read. They know what product are they going to consume, and they all this education has happened over the period of time. They started writing reviews, they started sharing their feedback around it, so that we companies like all e-commerce companies starts working towards it, how to improve, going back to the product owners that okay, these are the tweaks which you should be building. So in my opinion, if I have to give, I guess this is bringing new age consumers like the Gen Zs of the world. They would want to express their feelings that this is what we want, and that's where the e-com.
Do you have an effort to win back a customer who you've lost because of a bad experience? Because customers will have bad experiences with your platform all the time. So how do you go about making investments in how to win back that customer who had a bad experience once, and how do you go about winning them back? Because we can't avoid a bad experience.
So I partially answered this question in the previous this thing, but just to re-emphasize, what happens obviously there will be bad experience. You're stitching quite a lot of things under one umbrella. There could be leakages, but yes, that's the learning for a company that okay, next time onwards, how do we stitch this piece as well? But wherever you have lost, I would say not lost a customer, but yes, there is a bitter experience in that sense. So how do you improvise that? There are multiple ways. You have to take financial punt. You have to go extra mile to solve for that consumer. Maybe please by extending something which kind of helps them, motivates them. Yes, that okay, this was not a generic, this is one of those cases, and that's how you win. Yeah.
I'd like to add, your question was, well, has it become more transparent?
Yeah.
It definitely has. From a consumer point of view, you've kind of unlocked value for a consumer. Today, so go 20 years back, you would not know what is the cost of your holiday. Everything was opaque, everything was bundled, everything was not available on any platform to watch today. And I very often tell people that India, when they look at outbound, they look online, book offline. All right. So that has happened, that there's so much of clarity on what are the pricing. Earlier it started with airline, then it went to hotels, now it's going to activities and transfers. To every part of travel has become very transparent. So from a consumer angle, they are winning, and everybody's fighting for the same piece. So you go to a Marriott will give you the same experience whether you booked on an OTA or a bed bank or a travel agent or directly into it. And maybe if you go to Marriott directly, you might even have a better experience or a better, offering. So has it become price sensitive? Yes, because a Marriott is a Marriott, right? So unless you add service angle to it, you will always be driven by price, and it's no end. It's bottomless.
So let me follow up this. So what, as a leader, founder of a company, what worries you tomorrow? So worrying you about margins, your acquisition costs, or worrying that your trust or your service standard? What keeps you up at night that you're going to be worried about in the future?
Am I doing enough?
Okay. For your customer?
Am I doing enough? Am I putting myself in the customer's shoes? Am I solving enough problems? Okay. Because you see, all the worries that you talked about are not worries. These are day-to-day activities that you run the business for. And you have very talented people who do this, right? So you're not worried about it. So, you should be worried about, is your vision clear? Are you able to communicate that to your team? Because people don't work for money anymore. They work for the vision they believe in. If they are connected to the vision, they know that they're in the right place at the right time, they will continue to exist and, perform. So the differentiation is no more left with, what is competition going to do? So yes, you continue to improve your processes and delivery through automation as much as you can to the last mile. And that actually is like an ecosystem. So travel is an ecosystem. What we fail, honestly, very, very miserably, is that we only optimize our companies. Nobody's optimizing the ecosystem, right? So what we've done awesomely well is that consumer side is fully digital, fully real time. But back end is fragmented, is broken, is so, so slow to react to what. So there is the customer has really booked something on an app real time, but when it goes to check-in, the experience gets broken. Yeah, so what keeps me awake is, am I doing enough? Am I planning enough? Am I able to clearly, give my vision clarity to the team, to our partners who are hotels, transporters? In our business, you also have people down the line like drivers and transport companies and activities and restaurant owners. So are you able to connect with them and tell them, listen, this is what our vision is, this is what we want to deliver? I think most of the stuff kind of goes wrong there. Everything else is commoditized.
Experience isn't commoditized yet. Ashwin, let me come to you. And you've led leadership roles across sort of the hospitality industry. And I often sometimes see that the hotels and hospitalities are very good communicating challenges, communicating with their staff about this is what's happening, this is how we're going to solve the problem.
But sometimes, do you think that what other companies lack, is it operational discipline or is it the communication factor when you're, especially when you're in a situation or something?
You mean hotels or you mean other Indian industries?
Smaller hotels.
Smaller hotels. Yes. I don't know really much about other smaller hotels, but I can speak about the brand. Is that anytime anything you are affected with any kind of issue, I think the best thing is as a leader acknowledge it and speak about it. Like for example in COVID, some of us didn't know the answers. But you need to be brave enough to mention that to your team that listen, I'm as vulnerable as you are. We are trying to find out answers. We are trying to find out the solutions. But here we are. If anybody has any better solution to it, happy to take that. As I said earlier, the more inclusive the work culture is, the more better I feel the working camaraderie happens within the system. A large hotel like us we employ close to 600 odd people in our teams. So 600, 700 people communicating your vision to the last man over there or to the last mile is not always easy till the time you do not communicate effectively and you do not, as sometimes I even tell, over communicate yourself so that it reaches the right people in the right way. Earlier, communication used to be more like a town hall. Today, we felt that not everybody can be at one space, so we use technology. We've got WhatsApp, we've got groups, we've got areas where we communicate what's the vision, and we put quite a few anonymous polls over there for them to poll and vote that what is your ask, and that helps our teams to know that there is somebody who's concerned that this company wants actually to do something for us and are accountable both ways. It should not always be your team accountable to you. We need to be accountable to our team as well. So we've got a wall in our house called "You said it, we tried it." So which is like these are the things that you wanted us to do. This is where we are right now. Some is work in progress, some is done, and this we sorry but we couldn't do. We tried, but I couldn't, and I signed it off, saying that this is coming from me. I'm trying to do it, but I can't do everything overnight, and I can't change everything overnight. So that I think helps for the teams to know better rather than hiding it from them and trying to do solving a problem in a boardroom. I think that doesn't work anymore.
Now, Gen Z also, the younger generation, are they sort of participating in these new processes?
Happily. They love it. I'll give you a small example. So we in our town hall we do something called the Mentimeter, which is we ask questions and we anonymously ask people to answer. They are brutal. We are standing right there. We write things over there which are brutal. I'm like, hello, we are right here. But no, but that is the reality. If I do not put it up on the board, what will happen is it will start to build inside them. Good part is that they're able to vent it out. How much of it we are able to do, we communicate that in the next town hall that we tried, we went back, we looked at. This is what we could do. This is what is work in progress, and this is what we will try and do it. But at least they feel that yes, whatever we said is heard. The minute it's anonymous, it's brutal. The minute we say tell us proactively, we don't get any feedback. Everything is great. So that's not what I want to hear. I as a leader want to hear what my team wants to do, and I don't want them to feel the pressure that if we say something, our department heads are going to come after us, or our GMs are going to come after us, or they're going to say, "Aisa kyun bola? Why did you say this?" So this is where I had to adapt technology to get their hands up, because anytime I said anybody has questions, no, but the attrition rate is only going up. So what is something obviously is not right? Yeah, they don't want to speak up. So I think that transparency in the culture, the transparency in the fact, and the courage to actually face your shortcomings or your gaps is something which helps teams kind of feel that yes, we are part of the same company.
Let me come to you. Leading hundreds of people through sometimes very uncertain times. How do you give your employees that confidence, specifically in uncertain when travel is not getting booked, not doing well, prices are going up? How do you give your teams the confidence that don't worry, everything will be fine? We'll come out of this. We have solid foundation. Because the travel companies do go down time to time, big ones as well. So how do you sort of empower your staff? How do you give assurances to your staff?
Okay, so we saw that 5 years back when COVID hit all of us, right? Yes, the bigger the company, the bigger the problems, right? So that keeps happening with us. What I can say with example, but I have from with experience, what we have seen is that we are all together in it, right? That's the confidence we get and we also give. So people believe in what we are saying, as you just said, communication, right? That's the key. And believing in what we say they're going to believe, it will only happen when it turns into actions, right? So if we have done that, said that, done that, people will get that confidence, and we keep doing it. Plus, there are a lot of factors. How we going to come back is your question is that is internal, and the external is we need to keep care of our customers even in the bad times, right? There have been so many instances where their war has broke up, right? If we have and we have even in the Iran war, there were 700 passengers who were stuck in Middle East. There were no flights. If we're going to take care of those people, right, they're going to give that confidence back to us and to our team members, and that's what we all celebrate, right? So customers are going to help us come out of this situation as well, because we've been also tirelessly trying to help those clients wherever the things have been bad. So it's both ways. It's external factors from our customers which helps us, and obviously internal that our people believe on us.
I mean, a little bit different would be the question. What advice would you give to a new startup, MICE agency? You know, they're starting up, they're launching in the industry. What advice would you give them to help build long-term relationships in a very crowded space now? To be fair, so what advice would you give? What should they focus on to help build a relationship that can be as successful as FCM or anyone else?
So, the people who want to become founders, they are very innovative themselves as well, right? So, but couple of things on the business front is don't have a short-sighted approach. Have a long-term approach, right? If you want to be successful. Price will always stay, but the relationships will even stay more stronger. So don't be short-sighted, because what I've generally seen, many companies have come up and they blow out as well after some time. The long-term approach needs to be there.
Thank you.
I don't know if KD
Anyone
has
else to
been
add
doing
this
it.
advice to anyone who coming up in hotels or
Yeah.
agencies or B2B space?
I think number one is clarity in your vision. I keep going back to that point because I think a lot of people think, oh, I have 10, like in the MICE space, a senior MICE person would think that, oh, I've got 10 corporates I know very well. At least 2 or 3 of them have promised me business if I start on my own. Fair, that's a good start. And I've seen people who did these starts, did exceedingly well in the first 6 months, but they didn't have the plan for the next 5 years or 3 years. So what does, and I tell you, I go back 16 years back when I started Travel Bulls. We had 3 years of plan, future plan, customer by customer for about 800 travel agents in India. Which countries they sell, who do they buy from, what is the average yield per booking, how many bookings do they do, what market share will they give us on day one and what they will give us in 1 year. 800, we had a database of about 8,500 agents. So not what you do in the first 2 months or 3 months or first sale, how you get your first sale. Most of the people who do not become successful entrepreneurs, they only know what to do on day one. But what's going to happen on day 6 or 6 months later or 1 year later or 3 years later, that there is no plan. And I think we just walk into it and we'll find a way.
So when you started up, you had 800 agents and you had how much business mapping, sort of monthly,
To the-
5-year plan?
Month by month, number of passengers they currently do, what are they expected to grow, how much of market share they will really give us. I have best of the relationship with my customer, but he will not give me the entire business day one. They'll test me out, right? So I'll probably have 5% market share in the first 3 months and then grow. So all of these spreadsheets were done for 3 months to come to a plan and say, okay, this is what is the thing. So if you're not detailed, and I mean, a lot of my ex-colleagues have come to me, sir, I'm starting my own business. So I'm very happy that you're starting your own business. What's your plan? I know a lot of customers. That's it. So if the plan is not in writing and it has not been challenged, so I took those plans to my ex-bosses and asked them to, kind of give holes in that plan. I went and presented that plan to 5 of my friends who were senior VPs and presidents in their own large corporations and across industries. They asked me questions which I was not anticipating before starting that thing.
Interesting.
So I think people end up. So two things go wrong. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, vision, very clear what you want to do. Second, plan for at least 3 years. I know 3 years now has become, we were talking 5 years then, but I think the industry has become too dynamic to plan now 5 years. We don't plan 5 years now.
Yep.
So at least 3-year plan, and clearly know what's your, which battle are you going to fight. I've seen people saying, I will do this also, I'll do this also, I'll do this also. So you end up being nowhere. So you've got to be a specialist on what you do.
Really good point. That's a really good point actually, because I speak to a lot of people also in the industry who seem to have I'm starting my company and I've got these 5 plans. And yes, you're right, they are the ones that fail fast, because in 6-8 months you have a plan.
No, and they were very successful in the first 3 months.
Successful.
Yeah. First 3-6 months you say, wow.
Yeah.
And then,
there's no plan.
boom.
Good point.
Also, the most important part, ingredient in your business is your people. Are you starting alone or you have a team? When I started, I had 4 strong pillars, each one a specialist in each segment of the business. A finance guy, an operations person, a sales person. Everybody had a role clarity and they were fully committed to the vision. So, I see a lot of people going on their own and saying we'll find people on the way. No, it doesn't happen like that. So.
Manish, let me ask you a question. Look into the future. This is not about collaboration in the future of travel. We see a lot of AI being thrown around a lot. Really, where do you see this OTA business evolve in 5 years' time? Do you see us now using so much AI that someone will do a prompt on my ChatGPT, book my ticket to my visa? How do you see this business evolve in 5 years' time? 3 years even, because we might not be able to plan for 5 years.
Yes, not at all.
Where do you think the future of this OTA business is?
No, again, a very, very valid question, and everyone is debating around this that okay, there was an era when offline was coming to online, and now this AI and chat GPTs of the world, and people are wanting to solve it via voice, and that's where everybody has started evolving. If you look at most OTAs, Yatra has a Diya as an app. You can interact. It'll help you book flights to hotels, solve all your queries there. So I guess evolving there, and then strategic partnership is going to play a very, very pivotal role. That how are you aligning? What all strategic partners, and if you can't do alone, who all are going to play along with you to scale this up? Travel is going to be there. I guess offline is still there. All ecosystems are there. OTA ecosystem is going to be there. Now it depends on the players how do they want to scale up in the AI environment. How are you going to maybe enter into the space? Let's say there was a noise a few years ago that now Google is coming, HPA and it is gonna eat away everything from OTAs. But is that happened really? No. So everybody is getting, and so are our consumer bases. Consumer base is expanding. The future, the way I envisage today, the alliances bit is going to play very, very critical role. So that's going to happen, and obviously the new generation, the AI. Obviously, we all have to make AI-enabled platforms, which helps that problem solving also. Keep customer into the center, and then keep solving as much you can for your customer. If consumers are going to use, and if things are going to be AI driven, why not to invest in AI?
So when you're saying a platform to be AI driven, so is it getting into the little details? When you say you want your platform to be AI driven, does that mean and is that your platform should be able to interact with my personal AI assistant to be able to book it, or how do you see that growth coming? Because it's very easy to build a website and sort of you can come up with ChatGPT searches, etc., like that, and reference it. Or do you mean the staff that you work with or the platform you work with, that should be AI enabled to be able to give you the best value chain behind it?
As we speak, I guess everyone is trying to solve for consumer via AI, and eventually how the staff and all, maybe your post booking experience, how much of it can be solved by AI. The queries dropping. Earlier you had to keep your phone call on hold for a longish period. That okay, the representative will get back to you. The call is on hold, but why not to drop a query? Somebody will respond to you quickly. There are some FAQs that can be answered, and there are some particular queries. Why not somebody responding based on data again? So data science is going to play again, a role there as well. That we get to know about consumer, these queries, that queries, and let's say if there is a flight which is getting delayed, all queries are around that. Why not to have a static answer, and we proactively pass it on to the consumers that okay, this is the query and we might as well solve. So those tech play is, I guess, is going to help.
Please.
I'll just say what I think about it. I think both the things are going to stay, right? It's a life cycle. I think the transactions which will be simple will go on the OTAs. They are, it's very simple, transactional, book a Delhi, Bombay, Delhi and do it and move on. Where you need experience, humans will always be in the front. That cannot be replaced. That's what I think we as an organization also think, because both the things are going to play. Maybe the big shift could be, how long would you just keep sitting on your laptop not having an interaction? How long can you do that? Sara din to office mein we keep doing this only, right? But you need a human to have that interaction, and probably I think this shift will happen, and humans are irreplaceable, right? So that's going to stay.
I have a different take on it, man.
Your
Very, very different take. Extremely different take. I'll tell you, when you say experiences aren't, humans are not replaceable in experience, you can use the word yet.
Yes.
Right? One. And second, experience are various kinds, right?
Yeah.
So when you see pre-booking experience, booking experience, post-booking experience, all of it is already digitized. It's already done.
Back end.
Everything, right from searching to booking to post-booking, everything is done.
It is, but it's not seamless.
Yes.
So I was coming to that.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, and this is something that I spoke about last week in Bangkok. And we said everything is connected. So what we did in the last decade, everyone, individually as companies, is we connected left, right and center. We connected suppliers, we connected customers, we connected GDSs, we did everything customer facing. What we forgot is the back end.
Yep.
So even if you connect the entire back end, you have to orchestrize the whole thing. It's like a symphony. It has to work seamless. So the future is not for the companies who are best connected or more connected. The future is for the companies who are well orchestrating these connections. So orchestration is going to be the key, because that is going to define the experience of the end consumer. When my simple question that I've had for hotels in that forum was very simple. I said, please tell me, take an example. An agent makes a booking on Travels, all right? I have an optimization which searches either my direct inventory, dynamic inventory, third-party inventory. I book possibly on a bed bank. A bed bank has got the inventory from, let's say, a channel manager, all right? And VCC payments have been done. So customer is paid, I have paid, bed bank has paid, but the hotel is still asking that VCC will be coming on an email and not directly landing into a PMS. So somebody is actually going and taking an email, hundreds of payments, and going to a POS and making the payment charge, right?
Shouldn't be anymore.
The customer, no, but it's true even today. And okay, let me be polite. Indian hotels are light years behind the rest of the world. When I talk to people in Thailand and Singapore or US, they are miles ahead on all this adoption of technology to the last mile. And these are real problems, right? Simple thing. The entire ecosystem is already connected through API and XML technologies and even further now, right? A hotel generates, a PMS generates a confirmation number, HCN as we call it, hotel confirmation number.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it seamlessly go all the way to the person who's made the booking? on a mobile phone because everything is connected.
Should do.
Yeah.
If the booking can flow into a PMS seamlessly, why can't HCM go back? And if he had the HCM, when he go to the hotel, whether he speaks the language or doesn't, he will just show the number, which is numeric, has come from the PMS.
So that's where my point was. This is transactional. Transactional will get automated. It's already got automated. But when it comes
Not so much.
Not
The
so
backend is
much.
still. Yeah, but this is a problem solved.
Huh.
But if you're saying even experiential travel,
No, I'm not talking about that. Experiential travel. What I'm saying is, if you just need to book a hotel room, seamless, book it, move on. I'll take an example. If you want to take a round the world ticket, which many people take today,
sure,
that is not possible
so far.
on air. So far.
Yeah.
Because,
I always have to use so far these days. I learned it the hard way.
so far. We can call it so far.
Yeah.
But the people who know, I'm sure they will build it someday. But it is not there yet.
It's not.
Right? Even if you have to build some complex travel itineraries, right? That also, you can gather information, but to validate that, either you go and check the reviews, whether you want to, because these days reviews are also of different kinds, right? People just build them, pay them, do that. People have experienced that,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So gradually, everyone is trying to scale and trying to use this AI or these models. The humans require a validation for something which they want to experience it, or they want to do it for the first time, or whatever it is. Even from a peer, if I have traveled to Atlantic, people will, if they can go online, they can search anything. But if I have traveled to Atlantic, and if you know that I have traveled, you will call me.
Word of mouth is always going to be more precious. There is no question
So
about it.
if
However,
I'm going to tell, this is how I booked it. This is also I booked it online.
well,
That creates a doubt.
my last 6 months have been a very mindset changing experience. The most complex itinerary you write on 2 or 3 AI platforms.
Yeah.
They'll give you 6 different options, and on the 6 different options, they will tell you.
With the Google.
And so I'll tell you when
That
I
is possible.
I recently signed on to a AI platform. The first 2 days, I only invested in telling about travel bulls and me. Now, when I talk to the AI, it's not giving me a generic answer. It's giving me an answer which is related to travel bulls, is related to my personality, is related to how I think. And yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. But what I'm trying to say is complicated itineraries, complicated, airline bookings, around the world tickets, and there'll be a few more such case scenarios are not done yet completely. But we are.
Would happen.
What is happening is, I mean, I keep saying this example. The world took 15 years from moving from pages to mobile phones. India took 3. Right?
We get that. We
Yeah,
get that.
and it'll be like this before you know. So we got to be. It's no more 5 years ahead.
No,
it's
no,
few
no,
months ahead.
My angle is a bit different. I think we've actually complicated travel too much.
Yep.
And this is my biggest problem with travel today, is that if you want to plan it yourself, I think as an industry, we've complicated it too much, because ticket lo, online check karo, hotel se book karo, there hai, Uber idhar hai, ye hai. There's just, it's actually not become a exercise for relaxation. A lot of the travel now has become such a complicated exercise. I need to get my points, I need to get my credit card, I need to for as an industry, I think we need to solve for making it easier.
And anxiety becomes a little more difficult. Yeah.
Exactly, you need to be here at this time. If Google Map Drive is here, my car pickup is going to happen. I think it's really complicated when it should be something very simple.
Yeah.
I guess it is getting simplified. If you look at how evolved as a traveler you are, there is a set who is evolved. First timer traveler overseas will definitely take a short haul. The evolved traveler will take long haul.
Great.
There are steps, baby steps towards reaching up there, and so is how people are getting onto it, and travel is getting sorted, and that's the reason all of us are sitting here and talking about the future of travel. Where are we headed?
So just to conclude, what we're saying is, all these are enablers.
That's correct.
Right?
Absolutely, that we agree.
But they are not experiential.
Yep.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
point.
Yep. You need a.
No, so
especially in the-
experiences, isn't it experiences getting stitched? What you're saying, word of mouth, it is captured.
I just gave an example. That is not the validation.
Fair point.
You know, when I did an AI class the other day, and the first thing the guy told me, he's like, AI will never take your job. What AI will do, someone who knows AI will take your job. So
Yes.
take this. It's like when the computers came in with typewriters, right? No one lost a job. They became more efficient. But if you don't know the computer, you will lose the job.
You have
Yeah.
to upskill yourself.
Also, AI, like you said, AI is an enabler. It'll sit on top of everything else,
Correct.
and you need to know how to use it.
Yeah.
When five of us use the same AI engine and ask, we want to say perform the same task, the answers will be all five different because
Yes.
it's the prompt that you do.
Correct.
So you got to be, and then of course it takes time for it to learn. So what you do on day one, and if you continue to invest in that AI module for three months down the line, your answers become more precise.
And that's what personalization is,
Yeah.
and that's what is happening. So
In OTS story, what you were trying to get to, everything is going to connect. So if you say KD Singh, the OTA engine would already know KD Singh's LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile, Instagram profile, will know the age, the demographics and everything, the kind of posts I've done. All of that would have been done before throwing back the result. That's the future. It's not done yet, but
Even OTAs, you talk about travel, right? Google has done this so well with your workplace.
Oh, yes.
Everything is a marketplace, right? And I want to Google knows like
Everything.
what my emails are, what calendar is, everything seems seamless. I get a prompt, everything. Like every time I have to book a flight on, let's say, make my trip or whatever, or even HCR, then Air India, I'm cold. Every time I have to still select my seat, I have to still block my.
yeah.
That is when I say it's becoming. It's not as seamless because it should know this is a seat Nikhil likes and it should block it for me.
The day is not too far.
I hope so. I hope so.
actually, the day is
It,
not.
I hope so. I
it
hope
brings
so.
me my MO experience in Singapore, and I'm talking 15 years, 10 years back. The first time they asked me this set of 20 questions, it's been 20 years. Whenever I go, and I don't go there that often, they will know exactly what I need. So if that was done manually 20 years back, how
I hope so. I certainly hope that.
So you're right. If you are a 1A guy in a seat, it should say 1A is not available. Can I get you 1B or 2A? Automatically while booking. So yeah, you're right. Expectation is absolutely there. So if this is your expectation,
No, that's
I'm
what-
sure somebody's solving it.
That is what knowing your consumer. So that's your ask, and obviously there are people those who are already working on this.
Ashwin, let me come to you a little bit. We still awfully quiet a little bit here, but let me ask you something. And I think this is very important because the whole ecosystem works with the hotel, right? At the end of the day, it's the most. Do you think in the last couple of years specifically, has the ecosystem, I'm talking about OTAs, DMCs, transport companies, have we all come together or are we still operating in total silos and we're not coming together in the industry to solve these problems? What's your take on it?
So, I think at the start of the conversations, I think that Katie mentioned about that, people still look online but book offline. So today, I think with OTS coming in, it's become far more easy, transparent. There is two-way communication happening. But yes, as Manpreet was also mentioning, anything which is complex, ground transportation, for example, is not completely solved, I would say, in terms of online. The direct flight or a direct hotel room is still more easy to do it, especially when we work with brands. So the expats understand and foreign clients will understand what the brand philosophy, ethos, and stands for. But when it comes to ground transportation or it comes to moving about in the city, I think that still is a grey area that's not completely solved as a problem. It is there, but still it is vague. You don't know the quality of drivers, you don't know what the person is going to give you finally over there. But yes, having said that, I think the industry overall has changed quite a bit. OTS has also, I think someone you asked about the question about what has OTS done? Has it given you more price sensitivity or has it given you more freedom? I think it's given a lot of more demand generation for our tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 markets to travel more confidently and stay in those hotels more confidently, which probably was not the case earlier. It used to be like, if it's a Radisson, must be expensive, महंगा ही होगा. So you don't even want to go about it. But now they know I can pick up any OTA, I can see which hotel, I can see the room, and with virtual tours, with direct confirmations, with chatbots available, you can talk and you can talk in your own language. So we can today have our Hindi website on which people can now look at in Hindi and also book, which wasn't the case earlier. कहते था कि भाई किसी को phone करना पड़ेगा. Now you don't need to do that. So I think it's made life simpler. it's also helped us, especially in such a dynamic geopolitical scenario today. We are not dependent on inbound business
But
only.
are people working with each other as much as they should?
No.
Or are we still or is it transparent that मैं तो ये this is it,
It's not come together. Yeah. So that's of course the panel over here is more of an expert to understand why. But if from a hotelier point of view, yes, it is not yet completely integrated. No, no, it's still inside. It's
From
still,
any stakeholder, it has not come together.
Yeah. So
We haven't stitched the ecosystem together. We still operate in silos to answer your questions.
And then, I look at, I'm giving an example, Singapore cruising, right? That you land in Singapore, they take the boat to the ship, they give you a place to sleep. That whole ecosystem is being solved for in the sense that that's a seamless transition, but nowhere else was it in the world.
No.
So that's why.
no, it's not. So if I'm booking a room, I have to book transport separate, or I have to book with hotel, or I have to look at options. So it's not yet there.
Okay, we're going to run out of time, but I'm going to ask a couple of quick questions to all of you. Let me start with Manpreet and be honest about this answer. The buzzword in minds in the last 12 months has been sustainability. Does that actually play a role, or is it price sensitive as the most important?
It is in certain cases. Certain cases, it is not. There are organizations who are bound to make carbon neutral, and they work on that. And there are numerous examples, right? And there are organizations who tie them together, tie the vision together, and it happens. But it's not in all the cases.
In all the cases. But is it increasing its importance?
It is increasing.
So any small company or a small myself, you should now pay attention to sustainability as well, because it's going to become important.
Yes. Going forward, it is going to be very important, and it is getting more and more popular. And the more smaller companies also start to adapt and understand how this can be done better, it will be very helpful for their business as well.
Katie, let me ask you the $1 million question. I'm going to ask you this very straight up, but I've been wanting to ask a B2B agent for a very long time. Every B2C person I say is slowly entering into the B2B space. Even the bigger OTAs are going from B2C to B2A. The B2B guys are going B2C. Like, I always see this grass is greener. But is it actually worth going from a B2C to pivoting into B2B also, or is there a risk that you might lose your customers and people?
So there are two sets of answers to this. One, technology is obviously making it easier to kind of blur the whole line, so to say. So somebody who was buying, for example, what we call travel is the last mile solution, right? So whether you're an OTA or a bed bank or a tour operator or travel agent, whatever is the source of booking, we are the last mile. All right. So whether OTA becoming a wholesaler doesn't matter, as long as you have the tech to supply to that ecosystem. So to give you an example, the international standard is that we receive 100 million searches a day from our customers, and it's grown tenfold, and it's going to grow another tenfold. So imagine we're doing 200, 300 searches a day. We have to respond in less than half a second. And in that half a second, I have to search all over supply, optimize, send back. So this capability will limit itself on the technology side. So you've got to be really, really sharp on tech. On the other side, on the practical side, whether it is worth it, it's basically consolidation. So what you're saying is that this is another channel, it does a few million room nights, can I get a pie? Because OTA space obviously is becoming very crowded, very, the margins are shrinking. So everybody's trying to find out where can I get the extra dollar. Now, I have seen a whole lot of bed banks trying to backward integrate and become a DMC. 95% have failed. They've done a whole lot of investments and then pulled back those investments, and they found the cost of doing the last mile is enormous. And then cost benefit analysis tells you, oh, it's not there. So sometimes you have to keep it because, that's the positioning you want to share. But is it, so it depends upon scale. If your scale is big, like for example, Expedia today does B2B, Make My Trip does B2B, they've just entered that space a couple of years back. Very successfully so. So it is the scale.
Let me flip this around, and I see this all the time in the industry, and you see it 100 times more than me, is that an agent from, let's say, Ahmedabad, let's say, Kanpur, gets to a scale, he says, I'm doing a lot of business in Thailand, I'm going to start a DMC in Thailand, he hires 2 cars. Is that model successful, or it's just your
Honestly,
I
is
tell
it
you.
successful or is it not? Or is it long term?
It's definitely not successful. I'll tell you why. One, that scale, when you say scale, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
What you meant scale means I was doing 50 lakhs, now I do 10 crores. Is 10 crores is the scale? Is not.
Okay.
Second, a lot of people in Ahmedabad set up businesses for different reasons,
No worries.
right? But real people, when I entered the space 16 years back, there were 4 DMCs in Thailand who were serious contenders for being Thai DMCs into Indian source market. Today, the number of registered travel agents, DMCs with TAT, is over 300. Now, like I said, you know what you can do, but your scale will always limit. So you will be happy doing that piece. You specialize. So if I'm a travel agent in Ahmedabad and I can do, let's say, a few thousand room nights a month or a quarter, I'm happy doing those 2 hotels in Pattaya and 2 hotels in Bangkok. I just keep doing that business for my set of people.
That's pretty much.
Fine, I make a lot of money, I'm good. But can that become a national player? I haven't seen one.
Okay.
In the last 16 years. You see, to a very large CEO of an OTA and tour operator, I had one question. I said, every 6 months, for the last 30 years, you've been changing your DMC in Thailand or Singapore. Please tell me, why couldn't you find one partner?
Of course.
And you are talking of 30,000 passengers a year as tour operator. There was no answer. Every 6 months you have a new DMC coming in. No, it's not about Sasta. It's about various reasons. So, because people do not have supply chain management policies. So we are fortunate that when we were born in 16 years back, we were supported by Make My Trip, Yatra, and a whole lot of other friends. They understood this question when I asked them. I said, you can open this company there. What will you get extra? 3%? 4%? What's your cost of operation? And can a captive business take care of your expenses? No. So if you are not, and people have asked, I was talking to a very senior fellow, high at corporate level, and I showed them my packaging module online. The first question she asked was, such a beautiful tech, why are you not directly to the customer? I said, because I know where to fight my battles.
Fair enough.
Right, so there would be a couple of cases which will be good, successful, but most of it, neither a B company has become a successful OTA, and neither an OTA or a bed bank has become a very successful DMC anywhere.
Okay. Ashwin, let me come to you. Quick question. We have 1 or 2 more questions. That's it. What leadership lesson has stayed with you, or a personality has stayed with you in your career that you think that you want to give advice to people in the future?
I would only give advice to future GMs would always be that have an inclusive kind of communication with your team. Never a one-way. And I think something that really stayed with me when we were growing up, all we could see or we could hear was one-way communication. And we thought that's the best way to do it. So when we became leaders, or when I became a leader, I thought that was the right way to do it. But it wasn't. And the minute I flipped it to making it a two-way communication, I think I really benefited a lot. I got ideas and I got suggestions and I got ways of working that I thought I was doing right, but then I was sure that it wasn't right when I heard it the other way around. Empower your team to speak up and not be scared and not be a yes man. I think that's something I would always give as an advice to future teams.
Thank you. Manish, let me ask you a question. Easy, not very complicated. If you had to redesign this whole travel ecosystem that we've been talking about, right? And you had to redesign one part of it, what would it be? Would it be the aviation, pricing, regulation, distribution, customer service? What would be the one pain point or visa? What would be the one pain point did you think in the travel ecosystem we haven't solved for yet?
I guess everything for me is customer, so I will still want to solve for the consumer, the end consumer. So if we are solving for the consumer, which means we are stitching rest of the things any which ways, because eventual ball game is to solve for the consumer and make the consumer happy, so that it becomes your repeat.
So back to your know your customer and keep them happy.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Last rapid fire sort of questions. One word answers or one line answers. But let me come to you first. What does success look like in the travel industry? Is it revenue, market share, repeat customer, sentiment? What do you look at as success? Because it's different for different people now.
Yeah.
Can I pass and I want to think before I...
Okay, all right, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Let me go to Ashwini, right? Do you think the hotel loyalty cards points, do you think they generally create loyalty, or people are still looking in for the best benefits and all?
No, people do look for the best benefits, and that also creates loyalty. But yes, today a customer has loyalty card of every hotel.
Exactly.
So, so there is no loyalty towards one brand,
Yep.
but it does help you to add on, get those preferential treatments and whatever that comes along with it. So it's just good to have for every other brand. So, but yes.
Perfect. Let me come to you now. What is an uncomfortable truth about our industry that that no one talks about, that's not often spoken about, under the carpet?
I can't say it's not spoken about, but I think the most uncomfortable truth is that people still think if you couldn't do anything, you will become a travel agent. It's so far from the truth. We recently, about a couple of years back, went to IIMS and hired 13 people from there. It was a big question mark, and people were hired, saying, "Why would you go to IIMS and pick 13 people on a batch?" And the batch had already done summer training with us a year back, right before the fund. And when we were hiring that batch, we knew only 40% will stick around. Right? So I think the most uncomfortable truth is that the quality of manpower or the intellect that we have in hospitality per se, travel even more, is very, very uncomfortable. We do not get to attract the talent, and the intellect is missing.
Okay, Manish, let me come to you. I'm going to ask you my favorite question to ask everyone now. Influencers in travel, do you think they set sometimes totally unrealistic expectations of your travel experience, or do you think it's really good that it's getting the travel message out there like never before?
So, okay, depends whom are you getting influenced through. So, but yes, they are making, travel, at least a virtual travel tour for consumers to get influenced and obviously then explore the destination, which is helping. So it's a content building which they are doing, and which is helping destinations, which is helping products, and which is helping consumer understand what are they going to do there. So in a way it is helping, but yes, again, it depends whom are you following and are you doing the right thing.
No, I went to Bali Swing, right? I saw it, so I went to Bali Swing. And this is my personal story, and I was like, oh, Jana Padega, it's amazing. When I got there, I was so bitterly disappointed at this product. I was like,
But Instagram tells you a very different story.
Exactly. So sometimes I think it does set an unrealistic example for you when you travel.
Again, depends. You see, you are a different personality, but all of a sudden you're getting influenced by something else. Yep. So the mismatch, that's where I've been saying, knowing your consumer, then solving for it. So that's the truth.
But a guy like you got influenced with the Instagram reel, it means it's working. It means it's working, isn't it? I think one of the biggest influences is Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
No, that has been
20 years.
Yeah, no, that has been.
That has always been. Yeah.
But even so, it's the same. No, now you're more Instagrammers who are not Bollywood stars.
Correct.
So if somebody like you got hooked into, it's working. Yeah, so the Bali Swing got extra customer.
Okay, but what does success mean for you?
Okay.
For you.
So, success for me in travel would be three things.
Okay.
Creating value for the partners, creating value for our people, and creating value for being relevant for our customers.
Okay.
If we can get these three things together, I think that's the success.
Sounds good. That's the last of my questions. Any other comments, anyone? Anything else you'd like to add? I didn't ask you about, we thought about this topic. Any questions for anyone else?
Oh, maybe we can ask you a question. How are you kind of building this ecosystem all together, just not from reporting point of view, but also in terms of contribution of what should be the right way forward? So, how is GDP coming along?
So I think we're trying to, we've obviously got a vision, I think that's most important. We're trying to really, and we're making a lot of efforts through this, and through generally, is upskilling the industry a lot more. And that's been our vision for the next thing, is that We don't want to become a reporting platform. We want to become an upskilling platform, and that is why we think we're going to most value in this industry. Is and back to Katie's point, the travel agent जो कुछ और नहीं कर सकता वो travel agent बन जाता था. So I think we're trying to set up barriers to entry in this industry to say that look, if you want to become a travel agent, you should have 1,000 hours of training behind you. You should have this upskilling with you. This is how you'll be successful. And I think that is where, unfortunately, internationally this has been done a lot better than it's been done in India.
Yeah.
Where and before being a travel agent, I think you have to really upskill yourself. You need to know your product, you need to know insurances, you need to know your suppliers, you need to know their sort of risk management policies. And I think we're trying to get that level of professionalism or upskilling in this industry. I think that is severely lacking still.
Print versus online. That's the last.
Very good question, and I think the answer is mixed because, and I'll give you my own personal experience. People spend a lot more in print than they spend on online. There is just no news about that. I think the decision makers still read the newspaper, still read print. I think the younger Gen Z are more online, more faster. However, I think when you're getting to a point when you're getting to sort of 40s, 60s, 50s, and you're making a decision making, you're still liking print more. And I'm seeing that in my age group as well. As I grow, like this year was the first year I subscribed to a newspaper ever in my life. I said, hey, I want to read the newspaper in the morning. So we're seeing that change. And I think a little bit more about, I think print is a lot help better in brand building rather than chasing clicks and links and reels and also. I think you'll see a lot more of conjoined growth. I think you'll see real style content come out of TravTalk a lot more, which is for younger, sharper, faster. And then you'll see a lot more analytical pieces in print that will be a lot more about, research studies, reports, and analysis. So I think you'll see a different content go out to sport. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Thank you.